Shabbat Shalom, Cantor and me.
Shabbat Shalom.
How you doing at the end of the first real week after the Chagim?
I'll admit, I don't feel like I've totally come up for air from the Chagim, but I'm really thankful that it's Shabbat.
It's like a really high mountain, and then it takes a long time to climb back down. That was an image that Rabbi Spitz told me. He said, expect it'll take a while to make your way back down the mountain. I'm with you. I'm with you. Halfway up, halfway down.
Yeah.
And nowhere in particular. If you're also kind of halfway up and halfway down and nowhere in particular, this is a good time to plant your feet on the floor wherever you are sitting, to feel yourself in your chair if you're sitting down, to feel your feet on the ground if you're standing up, to join me in just taking a deep breath. Feels good, right? Let's do one more. And to cast your mind back over the course of the week that was, and to try to find one really sweet moment. Doesn't have to be big, doesn't have to be earth-shaking, just one moment of sweetness, one meaningful conversation, one little win at work, one time when you just hit 3 green lights in a row and you were feeling good. You have a moment of sweetness from your week. If we were all together, I would love to go around and hear yours. I'll just share one from me. This Monday was my first real full day off in a few weeks because of the aforementioned Chagim, and I made myself a promise to turn off my phone and not just take one meeting. And I took our little girl to the beach. And Grace loves going to the beach. She loves playing in the sand, but she's really afraid of the ocean. And so she never even wants to get near the wet sand. She wants to stay way up on the dry. And for whatever reason this week, she was pushing closer and closer to the wet sand. And I said, do you want to try sticking your toes in the water? And she looked at me and said, yeah. And so for the very first time in her little life, she put her feet in the ocean and we stood there together and it was magic. And I thought, this is the first time in her whole life that she ever touched the ocean. She gets to have all of those firsts. For grown-ups, there's not nearly as many firsts. We've done things before. We've done them many times. And it seems to me that the work of spiritual practice is really about trying to recapture a sense of first. In the meditation world, they call that beginner's mind. In our liturgy, we speak about the daily recreation of the world. God renews the creation every single morning. It's trying to get into that place of experiencing as though for the first time. So as we sing through these psalms, which are going to be quite familiar to most of us, I suspect, together on this Zoom, I invite you to try to find a little bit of beginner's mind, to find a way in which this service can be old, but can also be new, can touch you in a way that maybe you didn't expect, or maybe you'll hear something for the very first time. Let's enter into Shabbat together.
How do you feel about a little call and response?
For you, and only for you.
Okay. Lechu neranena Ladonai Navia Letzuyishenu Nekad Mafana Betoda Bizmirot Narialo Lechu neranena Ladonai Navia Letzuyishenu Nekad Mafana Betoda Bizmirot Narialo Lechu neranena Ladonai Navia Letzuyishenu Nekad Mafana Betoda Bizmirot Narialo Ki Gadol Adonai Umelech al Gadol al Kol Elohim Asher biado mechari haaretz V'toafot harim lo Asher lo hayam be'asahu V'yabeshet yadav yatzaru Bo nishtachave v'nichra Nivracha lifnei Adonai Oseinu Lechu neranena Ladonai Nahariya Letzuyishenu Nekad Mafana Betoda Bizmirot Nariya Lo Lechu neranena Ladonai Nahariya Letzuyishenu Nekad Mafana Betoda Bizmirot Nariya Lo Ki hu Eloheinu Va'anachnu amarito v'tzon yado Hayom im bekolo tishma'u Al takshu levavchem kimriva Ki yom asa bamidbar Asher nisuni avotechem V'chanuni gam ra'u fo'ali Lechu neranin al Adonai. Nahariya v'tzu yishen. Nekad nafan avitoda. Bizmi vod navi alo. Lechu neranin al Adonai. Nahariya v'tzu yishen. Nekad nafan avitoda. Bizmi vod navi alo. Let's do a little more back and forth. Arba'im shana.
Arba'im shana.
Akud bedor.
Akud bedor.
Va'omar.
Va'omar.
Am to'ei levavhem.
Am to'ei levavhem.
V'hem lo yadu.
V'hem lo yadu.
Derachai. I'll do this last line. Asher nishbati vapi, im yava'un el menuchati. And shiru l'Adonai, shir chadash, shiru l'Adonai, kol haaretz, shiru l'Adonai, baruch shemo, bazru miyom liyom, yeshuato, sapru v'goyim, kevodo.
Psalm 97, if you're following along in the Lev Shalem Siddur, is on page 15. Psalms are 150 praise poems to God that depict God in so many different ways. Some psalms depict God in very gentle, peaceful terms. Adonai Roi, God is my shepherd. This is a psalm that portrays God as a strong protector, even as a warrior. If you find some of the language in the psalm maybe doesn't match your view of God right in this moment, that's okay. There might be a time when the image of God as a strong protector and a strong warrior is actually exactly what you need. I'm going to read it out loud in English. Adonai reigns, let the earth be glad, and the many distant lands rejoice. Clouds and thick darkness surround the divine. Justice and righteousness secure God's throne. Fire goes before Adonai, consuming those who would besiege us. Flashes of lightning illumine the land. The earth watches and trembles. Mountains melt away like wax. at the approach of Adonai, at the approach of the Master of all the earth. The heavens tell of God's righteousness, the nations see God's glory. Worshippers of falsehood be shamed for praising gods who are not true. All that's deemed supreme bow before the one. Zion hears of it and rejoices. The cities of Yehudah exult as you, Adonai, pass judgment. You, Adonai, are above all that's earthly, exalted over all that's worshipped as divine. So those who love Adonai hate evil. God protects the lives of the faithful, saving them from the hands of wickedness. Light is sown for the righteous, and joy for the upright. Rejoice in Adonai, you righteous people, and thank God as you pronounce God's holy name. And we'll sing that Hebrew or Zarua.
Or Zarua Latzadik, Yisrael Simcha. Or Zarua Latzadik, Yisrael Simcha. Simchut Tzadikim B'Adonai, Hodu lezecher kodsho. Simchut tzadikim b'Adonai, v'hodu lezecher kodsho. Or zabu ala tzadik, uhu Yisrael simcha. Or zabu ala tzadik, uhu Yisrael. We'll turn the page, Psalm 98, sing it together. Mizmor shiru l'Adonai, shir chadash, ki niflaot asa, hoshia lo, yemino, uzero akosho, hodia Adonai, Yeshuato le'enei hagoyim, gilat tzidkato, zachar chazdo, be'emunato lebeit Yisrael. Ra'u chol afsei haaretz et Yeshuat Eloheinu. Hariu l'Adonai kol haaretz kitzlu v'ranenu v'zameinu. Zamu l'Adonai bechinor bechinor v'kol zimra b'chatzot b'kol shofar. Hariu l'ifnei hamelech Adonai Yiramayam. נהרות ימחה וחף יחד הרים ירננו לפני אדוני כי בא לשפוט הארץ ישפוט תבל בצדק בעמים במשאבים ינאי נאי נאי יו נאי 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 וואו Keep going. Turn to page 21. Habul Adonai, B'nei Eli. Habul Adonai, Kavod Ba'oz. Habul Adonai, Kavod Shemo. Ishtachavu Adonai B'Hadrat Kodesh. Kol Adonai al hamayim il hakavod. Adonai al mayim rabim, al mayim
A few Psalms back, we read a psalm together in which God is depicted as a warrior fighting to protect God's people, the kind of God before whom mountains melt like wax and evildoers run and flee. The song that we're going to sing next is the Chadodi, which pictures God's presence as, if anything, the opposite, a warm and loving, a queen, a lover, a beloved, coming to us with open arms of embrace, ready to enter into the joy and peace that is this day of loving connection, this day of Shabbat. I love that the Siddur gives us all of these metaphors. It gives us the image of God's might and strength. It also gives us the image of God's warmth and sweetness. Not to hold up one image over another, to privilege one vision of God, but to say that God is all of these things and so much more. We'll sing the Chadodi together.
בשמחה ובצולה, תוך אמוני עם, סגור לבואי חלה, בואי חלה, לך דודי, לקראת חלה, פני שבת לקבלה, לך דודי, לקראת חלה, פני שבת לקבלה.
Beautiful. That's such a pretty melody. We'll go on to Psalm 92, the Psalm for Shabbat. Tov lehodot l'Adonai, zamer l'shimcha hayom. It's good to say thank you to God.
טוב להודות לאדוני, טוב להודות לאדוני, לזמר לשמך עליון. טוב להודות לאדוני, טוב להודות לאדוני, לזמר לשמך עליון. להגיד בבוקר, בבוקר חסדך, באמונתך בלילות. להגיד בבוקר, בבוקר חסדך, באמונתך בלילות. טוב להודות לאדוני, טוב להודות לאדוני, לזמר לשמך עליון. טוב להודות לאדוני, להודות לאדוני, לזמר לשמך עליון. צדיק אתה יברח, כארז בלבנון יזכה, שתולי בבית אדוני, בחצרות אלוהינו יפריחו, עוד ינובון בסלע, דשנים ורעננים יהיו, להגיד כי ישר אדוני. צורי צורי ולא עוולת בו. Let's finish up with Psalm 93. Adonai malach geut lavish, lavish Adonai oz hitazar, avtikon tevel baltimot, nachon kisacha meaz, meolam ata, nazeu neharot Adonai, nazeu neharot kolam, yisehu neharot doch yam. Mikol od mayim ravim, adirim mishbereyam, adir bamarom Adonai, edotecha na'amnu me'od, בביתך נא בקודש, אדוני, לאורך ימים.
Beautiful. Thank you, Cantor Amy, for a beautiful Kabbalat Shabbat. Just a couple of words about Noah, the parsha we're reading tomorrow. Noah was being discussed 2,000 years ago by a pair of friends, actually extraordinarily close friends, study partners, Rabbi Yochanan and Reish Lakish. Rabbi Yochanan came from a background of some privilege. He lost both of his parents young, but he was raised by his grandfather in the city of Tzipori, which was the center of the early rabbinic world, and was himself a student of Rabbi Yehuda Nasi, the Rabbi Yehuda the Prince, the one who first edited the Mishnah, the greatest sage of his time. Rabbi Yochanan is discussing the verse that introduces us to Noah, that Noah is Ish Tzadik Tamim B'Dorotav, that Noah is a holy, righteous person, B'Dorotav, in his generation. And Yochanan says that this is damning by faint praise. To be the greatest in his generation is actually not such a big deal, because his generation, after all, was doomed to be flooded out from the earth. To be the D student in a class of students receiving an F is still nothing, perhaps, to stick up on your mother's refrigerator. It's not such a great thing to be graded on a moral curve when the state of the world is so very low that just the barest minimum makes you stand out. And so Rabbi Yochanan says, Ish Tzadik Tamim, a righteous person? Maybe, but only in his particularly awful context. That interpretation gets a lot of airtime. There's a lot of sermons that talk about Noah's failings and often compare him to Abraham or to Moses, and almost always unfavorably. I've given that sermon, and I'm sure I'll give it again. But I actually want to focus on what his study partner, Reish Lakish, says back. Reish Lakish was not raised in privilege. He was not honored to learn at the feet of the great sages. Reish Lakish was raised in utter poverty and grew up to be a highwayman, a robber, a thief. Reish Lakish would have a transformative moment only in middle age and become, at that point, a Torah scholar and sage, but he knew what it was to live a life surrounded by the kind of people who probably surrounded Noah. And Reish Lakish turns back to his friend and says, no, you have it wrong. Ish Tzadik Tamim B'Dorotav, to be a righteous person in that generation, to be a righteous person surrounded by people who all were potential influences to lead Noah astray, and even so, to hold out and maintain a moral compass, even so, to try as best he could, albeit imperfectly, to walk in God's ways. That's extraordinary. It's easy to be good when surrounded by others who are also trying to be good. But to stand out from the crowd in a world that's gone mad and to try to maintain some sense of conscience, some sense of moral dignity, some sense of right and wrong, that takes extraordinary effort. And Reish Lakish says, and I should know. I knew the kind of people who surrounded Noah, and for the first decades of my life, I allowed them to lead me into darkness. Let me tell you, it takes great effort to pull yourself into light. We are living in a tough time, in a tough world. We are living with many voices that pull our attention away from the things that matter. We are living with many justifiable fears. We are living with great uncertainty. To try to do our best in a world like this, to try to hold on to a vision of what's possible when all we see around us are messages of hate and destruction, that is heroic effort. And so if you're feeling a little exhausted, feeling like you are trying to hold on to ideals in a world that tries to rip them away, I want us to take comfort in the words of Reish Lakish, to say what we're doing is extraordinary, that trying to be a light in the darkness is hard work, and it's deeply praiseworthy. And so none of us are perfect. Noah wasn't perfect. But if we're trying our best, graded on the curve that we are living in, I give us all an A. And I think we should take that to heart. And I think we should feel some pride and feel a sense of renewed strength to go back out in the world and to try again and again and again. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. Let's offer a prayer of healing for those in our lives, in our circle of family and friends who are in need of healing of body, of healing of spirit. Mi sheberach avotinu mikor haberacha leimotenu. May the source of strength who bless the ones before us help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Amen. Mi sheberach imotenu mikor haberacha le'avotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say Amen.
Thank you for that prayer for healing. I'm going to offer the opportunity for all those who are remembering someone they love to join in the words of Kaddish together. Yitgadal v'yikadash shemei Rabbi
Amen.
v'yalma divrach yirutei v'yamlich malchutei v'chayechon v'yomechon v'chayei dechol Beit Yisrael v'agala u'izman kariv v'yimru. Amen. Yehei shmei Rabbi barach le'olam umei omaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yipa'ar v'termam v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shmei dekudesha
Brichu.
v'yichule elam min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata damiram v'yalma v'yimru. Amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'yimru. Amen.
Amen.
Oseh shalom b'mramav hu yaseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'yimru. Amen. I hope whatever this past week was, whether it came with triumphs or it came with challenges, whether you are in a moment of joy or in a moment of grief, I hope this Shabbat brings you a sense of peace, a sense of being centered, a sense of being grounded, a sense of being whole. I hope it is a Shabbat Shalom for all of us. Let's end with some song.
Shalom Aleichem, Malachi HaSharim, Malachi Elyon, Mi Melech Malchi HaMelachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Boachem leShalom, Malachi HaShalom. מלאכי השלום, מלאכי עליון. מלך מלכי המלכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא, הקדוש ברוך הוא. שבת שלום.
Shabbat shalom.